Hello and welcome to Historic Savannah Foundation's 2023 Preservation Awards. My name is Austin Hill and I am the chair of the HSF board. HSF's mission is to save buildings, places, and stories that define Savannah's past, present, and future. The Preservation Awards program is one way in which we illustrate the value that preservation brings to Savannah. May is also National Preservation Month, so it is an appropriate time for us to recognize the best of preservation in Savannah. This event is a way to bring deserving attention to why Savannah is a place worth saving and why we should celebrate those who do that important work. Now, Sue Adler, HSF's CEO and president, will begin the program.
Thank you, Austin. All the projects nominated for this year's awards are exemplary and remarkable examples of well-done preservation work. But in the end, our judges made the difficult deliberations using 3 criteria: quality and degree of difficulty of the nominee's project or effort, degree to which the nominee's project or effort is unusual or pioneering or serves as an example that influences good preservation practices, demonstrable or measurable impact of the nominee's project on the community. Thank you to our judges, Kirsten Connor, Ethan Hagman, and William Santiago, for lending their expertise to make these difficult decisions. We would also like to take a moment to thank our generous Preservation Month sponsors. Joining me to announce our award winners are Kimberly Newbold, Education and Research Associate, and Ryan Jarls, Director of Preservation and Historic Properties. It is now our pleasure to introduce the winners of the 2023 Preservation Awards, each of whom has added so much value to our city through their work. Without further delay, here are this year's winners. The 130-year-old historic building at 27 Montgomery Street has been integral to the development of Savannah's community, serving the area's iconic city market as a cigar factory, boarding house, and antique store. Now, the building is getting new life as the Darling Oyster Bar. Formerly housing the Universe Trading Company, the building was left vacant for several years prior to being purchased. As a result, the new owners were tasked with restoring the building and overcoming the results of deferred maintenance, which included damaged historic materials and ultimately the overall structural integrity of the building. Choate Construction Company, general contractor for the rehabilitation of the building, found that the primary challenge on the project was rehabbing the building in a way that preserved as much of the original structure and historic materials as possible, while also delivering a space that was functional, safe, and of the highest quality. Impacted by tropical storms Danny and Elsa in the summer of 2021, the building's roof was partially caved in, damaging the original wood ceiling joists and floors, and a portion of the south exterior brick wall had completely collapsed. Once the building was stable and cleared of debris, the project team was able to investigate which aspects of the existing structure could be left intact, which would need to be reworked, and which materials would be available for reuse within the new space. With preservation in mind, the project team demoed the south wall, carefully palletizing and storing the original Savannah gray bricks, and rebuilt the wall using the bricks and the historically appropriate mortar. The original wood ceiling joists were preserved but solidified structurally by sistering them with laminated veneer lumber beams. Additionally, the original heart pine floors were extracted and refurbished for reinstallation on the second floor. Due to the age of the building, most of the interior brick walls were in extreme states of disrepair, and the original mortar had lost much of its structural rigidity. To strengthen the existing walls, the project team used historically appropriate mortar to stitch, patch, parge, and repoint the masonry walls. Overall, approximately 95% of the modifications and repairs were with the original Savannah gray bricks. Prior to selective demolition, the design team was prepared to use all new flooring materials for the first and second floors, expecting the original materials to be too damaged. However, after carefully and intentionally performing select demolition activities, the project team was able to identify an opportunity to reuse the heart pine floors on the second floor. These floors were extracted, sent to woodworkers to be refurbished and reinstalled. The result? The entire second floor was able to maintain its original wood flooring. In many areas, the original stucco on the exterior walls of the building was damaged, cracked, falling off, or gone completely. To bring the building back to its original look and feel, the project team installed a new, direct-applied stucco finish that accurately reflects the building's historic character. Once an abandoned building with little hope of being rehabilitated, the Darling Oyster Bar is a testament to the owner's enduring respect for Savannah's iconic history. Because of this unwavering dedication to the preservation process, the project team, design team, and trade partners were able to save, restore, and transform the forgotten property into a vibrant, fine dining destination that will serve Savannah for many years to come. Congratulations to the project team.
The 38th Street School is an early 20th century neoclassical revival style school building designed by architect Gottfried Leonard Norman. It was the first urban public school building in the Thomas Square Streetcar National Register Historic District. Completed by John R. Eason for the Chatham County Board of Education in 1900, the building was continuously used for education until 2014. The building then remained boarded and vacant until 2020. Gottfried Leonard Norman, a Swedish-born architect based in Atlanta, was hired to design the 38th Street School and a number of new schools for Savannah during a rapid population growth in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. After World War II and the decades that followed, development of new automobile-oriented subdivisions away from the city center flourished. Many buildings were demolished and auto-related services began to dominate the street. However, the 38th Street School survived and continued to educate Savannah's youth even through the civil rights movement, desegregation, integration, and consolidation of schools, while many older schools throughout the South were abandoned or replaced. The building had been modified over time with a major renovation undertaken in 1978, including demolition of the bathhouse in the rear yard, new bathrooms in the school building, drop ceilings with acoustical tile and fluorescent lighting, installation of 6/6 double-hung sash aluminum frame windows, and a kitchen installation. A few years later, a portion of the basement was updated for a media center. Walls enclosed the stairs on the east and west sides of the building, and partitions were installed in some classrooms, dividing the spaces. Rehabilitation plans and construction methods preserved historic features and restored missing elements characteristic to its neoclassical revival style and use as an urban public school. The smooth stucco exterior and two-story composite columned entrance, indicative of the architect-designed facade, were restored. Challenges included new designs for replacement features and retaining primary public spaces while adapting the building for residences. Only 2 original wood windows remained, which proved essential to the design and construction of over 90 custom true divided light wood windows. Original interior stairs were enclosed within walls circa 1978. Typically a life safety code requirement, these features were significant to the original school design and were reopened to directly access the main corridors, exposing original railings and balusters. Floors and bathrooms were built up over time, featuring layers of tile and hazardous materials over tongue and groove. These were abated and restored. The preservation approach to retaining public spaces required units to be located within classrooms and administrative spaces. All original walls, doors, and transoms within these rooms were retained. New partitions within these spaces were designed to house all electrical, plumbing, and mechanical systems, leaving historic walls intact. Classrooms featured a combination of original slate chalkboards, corkboards, and modern whiteboards indicative of its use as a school. It was important to retain these features to help showcase its original use, and slate pieces were carefully documented, cataloged, and removed. They were reinstalled on historic classroom walls at the end of the construction. Rehabilitation of the partially submerged basement presented a number of challenges due to its low ceiling height and wood tongue and groove surface treatment. These were retained, and the floor was excavated where needed to preserve the feature while also providing an exterior lift and stair to make the space more accessible. This comprehensive effort placed a landmark public building back in use, enhancing the neighborhood and serving as an example of best preservation practices. Congratulations to the project team.
The bowling alley and library building is significant to the Fort Scriven National Register Historic District for its contribution to the military installation and the collection of coastal defense architecture from the first half of the 20th century. Fort Scriven was established in 1897 during a period of growth in the U.S. Navy to defend the coastline against an impending war with Spain. Following these events and prior to World War I, a collection of support structures known as Fort Village were constructed. The bowling alley and library building was completed on January 8, 1910. The building housed the bowling alley, library, and recreation office for the Fort Village. In 1944, the military post was deactivated and sold to the town of Savannah Beach, which is now the city of Tybee Island. In the 1950s, most of the fort buildings were converted to residential use for private homes or rental properties, taking advantage of that resort travel market. Over time, the building was subdivided with numerous walls to create apartments, and the front porch was screened in. The bowling lanes were removed along with much of the floorboards, and a brick fireplace was installed at the rear wall. Several windows were removed or replaced with metal windows as air conditioning units were installed. However, the building still retained its original form, wood lap siding, historic windows and doors, interior tongue and groove wood walls and ceilings, slate roof, and brick chimneys. In 2017, the building was purchased by a well-meaning group who intended to rehab the property and put it back into residential use. They removed all the non-historic interior walls, exposing the original bowling alley and office spaces. The work stalled, and 2 years later, they sought to sell the property. Brent Watts, representing 5 Cedarwood LLC, purchased the property in 2021 with the goal of preserving the building as a residential rental property while reestablishing many of the historic features and materials. Historic images, elevations, and existing materials were used to reconstruct the bowling lane, open interior space, and restore wall finish treatments where missing. The front porch screening and partial enclosure was removed, reestablishing the open space at the main entrance. Custom true divided light wood frame windows were built to fit original openings where windows had been previously enclosed or replaced. The most significant undertaking was the replacement of the missing bowling lane and the restoration of the floors. The floors had been submerged and trenched for the original bowling lane, leaving large voids in the flooring and allowing for rot to spread in other areas. A new tongue and groove wood floor was installed to match the original, and a new bowling mechanism was placed at the rear of the building, similar to the original configuration. Bedrooms for the adaptive reuse were installed in the front rooms in the 1938 edition, per the historic photographs. Structural interior wood columns were retained and exposed in new partition walls to retain the open character and make the new walls as reversible as possible. Congratulations to the entire team on a fantastic restoration and rehabilitation of this unique Tybee Island Fort Scriven building.
The Lewis S. Harford House at 208 West 40th Street was originally constructed in 1896 and is significant to the Thomas Square Streetcar NRHP Historic District. Designed as a single-family home, the Victorian-era residence featured a side hall plan, one-story wraparound porch, and decorative woodwork throughout, evoking the Queen Anne style. Largely vacant since 1990, deferred maintenance led to severe damage of the interior plaster, and over time, materials and features were removed. The home was built as a residence for Lewis S. Harford in 1896, but sold shortly after its construction. The building served primarily as a residential rental for working-class families after 1900, with more than one family residing in the home at one time during the years circa 1925 to 1970. The building fell into disrepair as early as 1936. The neighborhood became largely vacant beginning in the 1950s as development and population shifted to suburban areas. However, this building was purchased and occupied by the owners circa 1970. Although renovation attempts began around 2008, stalled project progress, vacancy, lack of maintenance, and active leaks had contributed to the deterioration of the building. The property was purchased by HSF in 2019 and placed in their revolving fund program in order to prevent its demolition and place it in the hands of a preservation-minded buyer. Christoph and Kimberly Knossos purchased the building from HSF at that time. The Knossos worked to restore the building to its near-original condition, preserving elements such as the Queen Anne woodwork on the front porch, fireplace mantels and tiles, and flooring. Where historic features were missing, the Knossos replaced them to match the original designs, including the fluted trim and rosette corner blocks surrounding the openings, the missing stair rail and balusters, interior pocket doors, the missing second-floor porch, former triple-hung windows, and all of the wall finishes. Ken Troop, with the Yestermorrow Home Builders, assisted with the construction in the historic home and built the new L-shaped garage at the rear of the lot to be compatible with and subordinate to the historic residence. The rehabilitation of this remarkable Queen Anne-style home stands as an excellent example for preservation on a block currently undergoing a renovation of its own in the Thomas Square Streetcar NRHP district. Congratulations to the project team.
Historically known as the home to Levy Jewelers from 1937 until 2012, the building at 103 East Broughton Street is now home to Savannah's Rivers and Glen Trading Company. Renovating this unique structure came with its fair share of challenges. According to records, no renovations to the building had been done since the 1950s, thus nothing was up to code. Due to the outdated electrical system, an entirely new system was installed, routing power from outside the rear of the building through an old chimney raceway and through the existing masonry. Once inside the basement, the challenge was getting power to the first, second, and third floors without disturbing any of the existing masonry walls. JTVS Builders Incorporated wanted to ensure the gray conduit was out of the public eye so that it did not detract from the historic look of the building. To accomplish this, the team used complex mathematical equations in order to bend the conduit and hide low-voltage raceways that wrapped around the walls. During the unveiling of the original floors and walls, aspects of the property's historic nature came to light. When removing some of the concrete flooring, the original terrazzo tiles were discovered. The team meticulously peeled away the concrete to expose all organic pieces and placed a finish over it so it would last well into the next generations of the building. The original renovation designs had the walls being covered with sheetrock. However, during demolition, the original masonry of the building was exposed. The entire team, as well as the owners, decided to continue exposing the masonry as much as possible, making any necessary repairs, successfully restoring the majority of the first floor retail space with the renovated brick. Additionally, while peeling back more layers of the floor, old-growth pine was discovered in one section of the building. Since the particular lumber is no longer manufactured or sold, the contractor reached out to a local company, Repurpose Savannah, to treat and patch areas and bring back this rare piece of history for continued use. Another challenge faced by the project team was reworking the stairs leading from the first floor to the third floor of the building. The stairs are configured to wrap around an old dumbwaiter. Since the stairs were not up to today's code requirements, and they could not be exempted, the team had to rework the stair landings and handrails without disturbing the dumbwaiter. Once again, using math and angles, the team was able to do so, even uncovering hardwood treads and risers that had been hidden for years in the process. The old inoperable dumbwaiter was brought back to life. Through strategic work and meticulous planning, the entire project team both preserved the historic elements of 103 East Broughton Street and brought the functionality and safety of the structure up to modern standards, giving new life to the building while maintaining the historic character it has provided to Broughton Street for nearly 100 years.
The Brunner Heitman Park House at 12 West 38th Street was constructed in 1900 and is significant to the Thomas Square Streetcar National Register Historic District. Charles W. Brunner operated C.W. Brunner & Son as a merchandise broker and had this home built most likely from an architectural design by George F. Barber. In the late 1800s through the early 20th century, George F. Barber, an architect in Knoxville, Tennessee, developed hundreds of home designs and published them for wide distribution across the United States. Like other architectural catalogs of the time, one could order the house plans and the individual details, which were mass-produced during the Industrial Revolution. The building is significant as an excellent example of the Queen Anne style, but it was modified over time. The neighborhood became largely vacant beginning in the 1950s as development and population shifted to suburban areas. During this period, alterations were undertaken to modernize the house. This included the installation of wavy asbestos shingle siding over the original woodlap siding and replacement of the porch columns with mid-century cast iron supports and a pierced concrete block railing. A portion of the distinctive wraparound porch was enclosed at this time as well. In the 1970s, textured aluminum siding was installed over the asbestos shingle. A portion of the side porch was removed, the roof was replaced with 3-tab asphalt shingles, and many windows were replaced with 1/1 double-hung sash metal and wood frames. Pressed plywood paneling was installed throughout the interior. Few repairs and little maintenance were undertaken after this time, and the house sat unoccupied for years. Until in 2021, preservation-minded partners purchased the building in order to restore its Queen Anne-style appearance and rehabilitate the interior. Designs for the project focused on restoring or replacing missing historic features while retaining as much of the original floor plan as possible. Because of numerous material changes to the porches over time and the lack of pictorial evidence of the original designs, challenges to the team were in the replacement designs. Using the architectural character of the building, which incorporates Victorian and classically inspired features, along with elements of George Barber publications, new designs for the distinctive wraparound porch and the second-story side porch were developed. Exterior wood shingles, corbels, window brackets, gable vents, gable returns, projecting eaves, and dentil molding were all restored. Custom-made single and true divided lightwood windows replaced metal sashes, and original windows were restored. Within the interior, plaster walls were repaired or replaced where damaged, and tongue and groove wood flooring was restored. Additionally, 5 fireplace mantels and tiles, 3 sets of operable wood panel pocket doors, along with numerous swing doors, all framed with fluted trim and rosette corner blocks, were preserved and restored. Changes to the interior were kept to a minimum in bathrooms and service spaces to help retain a high level of historic integrity throughout the building. Where possible, original clawfoot tubs were retained and restored. The painstaking effort to design and rehabilitate this historic home stands as an excellent example for preservation best practices in an area undergoing substantial rehabilitation efforts surrounding the historic Starland Dairy District within the Thomas Square Streetcar National Register District. Congratulations to the project team.
To all of our preservation winners, thank you so much for the vital work you do to preserve our city. Now, Ryan Giles will present our Lee and Emma Adler Award for Preservation Advocacy.
The Lee and Emma Adler Award for Preservation Advocacy was established to honor the Adlers' vast contributions to historic preservation in Savannah. Lee and Emma fought for the preservation of this city starting in the 60s. It is in great part because of their work that we have this historic and iconic city today, and we are not left with a modern metropolis, which would have been if advocates like the Adlers had not stepped in to preserve it. They worked in their community with Historic Savannah Foundation and with local government agencies to implement preservation laws and education. Emma worked diligently to preserve the Massey School and was a founder of Georgia Day, and the list of accomplishments goes on. This award is bestowed onto a person who HSF believes continues the legacy of advocacy that the Adlers began in this city. This award is not given every year and only given when it is felt that someone truly deserves the title of advocate. It is an award saved for only the greatest advocates for this city, in honor of two of the all-time greatest champions the preservation community has ever known. It is with great pleasure that we announce that the 2023 recipient of the Lee and Emma Adler Award for Preservation Advocacy is May Boley. May Boley is the executive director of Repurpose Savannah, a nonprofit that seeks to have a positive impact on our local and global environment by reducing the harmful effects of demolition on the health of our neighborhoods, and by diverting large quantities of waste from the landfill, transforming it into community resources. May holds a Bachelor of Art in Graphic Design and a Bachelor of Art in Classical Archaeology from Florida State University. She holds a Master of Art in Art Education from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. She also holds a certificate in Historic Preservation from Savannah Technical College. Her professional background includes creative director for a manufacturing firm, market manager for an urban farm, and principal in her own marketing consultancy for creative startups, Boley Creative. May has said that she sees the mission of Repurpose Savannah like a three-leaf clover. One piece is focused on sustainability in the construction and demolition industry, working to convert the industry into more sustainable practices. The second is elevating women in the industry by offering an apprenticeship training program for women in construction and demolition, and by wholly staffing Repurpose with women. May realized that there is a real need to create spaces where women feel empowered to do this work. The third piece is preserving the inherent value in histories and materials. May has been the strongest advocate for the addition of a deconstruction ordinance within the City of Savannah's Code of Ordinances, working diligently alongside other members of the Historic Preservation Commission, for which she volunteers her time monthly, to ensure the future of our city is a better one and a greener one. Her advocacy reaches even further than the boundaries of Savannah, as she recently did a project introducing low to zero-cost arts programs for children when her hometown of Chicago's schools were cutting funding. And even further yet, on a national level, working towards establishing the Georgia chapter of the Urban Wood Network. One of the most heartening accomplishments May has brought to the city is the work she has done to shift the tide and uplift women in construction and deconstruction fields. She has done all of this while somehow being the only CEO of a construction company that does not drive a truck. May Boley, it is with my great pleasure that I get to honor a personal friend of mine with Historic Savannah Foundation's Lee and Emma Adler Award for Preservation Advocacy.
It has been such a pleasure filming here at the Murray C. Perlman and Wayne C. Spear Preservation Center. And we want to thank you all for joining us for our 2023 Preservation Awards. We would also like to, again, thank our Preservation Month sponsors for their generous support.
Again, I want to congratulate all of our award winners. We at HSF rely on our volunteers, advocates, and preservationists. To our friends, members, and donors, thank you for your support. We ask everyone to consider donating to Historic Savannah Foundation so that we can continue to do our work. Information for doing so is available on our website, myhsf.org. There you can also learn more about our work, its importance to the city, and other ways you can get involved in our organization. Thank you for joining us for our 2023 Preservation Awards presentation.